episode of No Silver Bullet, where we unravel captivating stories of remarkable leaders in our community who have seemingly faced insurmountable obstacles, but have refused to succumb to adversity. And these individuals remind us that there are no shortcuts in the path to greatness. And we have an exceptional guest joining us today. Michael Shanklin is the Executive Director of kidSTREAM, which is science, tech, reading, engineering, arts, and math. Is a nonprofit here in Ventura County where they provide an engaging environment where kids explore, play, and discover so kids can become critical thinkers, innovators, and lifelong learners. Michael, welcome.
Hey, thank you so much. I'm thrilled to be here, Marcelo.
I appreciate you spending some time with us here at No Silver Bullet. And I guess we'll just start off with if you could just share a little bit about your background and how you got where you are today.
Yeah, well, thank you again. I'm thrilled to be on the show, and I love the title "No Silver Bullet" because it's hard work, right? So, my background. I come from a very blue collar family for years and years. I was a welder, and nothing wrong with that profession, but being a clumsy welder is really not a good. It's not a good for your health. So after having gone to the hospital maybe one too many times, I started to think, there's got to be a better way. I need to use my brain more than my brawn. And so, I was the first in my family to ever go to college, and the only one to ever graduate. I originally went to school to become a teacher because I really didn't know what other options were out there for educators. And eventually, went to community college, eventually graduated from Cal State Northridge with my bachelor's degree in art education. And I got into the classroom as a substitute, which is really not a good indicator of what the real classroom is like. And after so one of my first assignments or duties as a sub was I was substituting for this science teacher, and she said, "Hey, I've got a bunch of tests that I need you to grade, and while you're grading the tests, would you put on Star Wars?" And I thought, well, I mean, I suspect it is science fiction, but I said, sure. I wanted to be a good sub, do what they asked. So I put the movie on and I grading the tests. And during the grading, I kept looking up, and something my spidey senses were going off, and something didn't seem quite right. And so got to the end of the class, the bell goes off, kids all pop up, they leave the room, and I turn the lights on, and lo and behold, unbeknownst to me, during grading the test in Star Wars, there was an epic bologna and cheese sandwich fight in the class, unknown to me. And so after cleaning that mess up, because I wasn't going to leave that for the janitorial team, I thought, maybe I should look at other kinds of educational opportunities. So I ended up moving to the great state of Oklahoma, where my wife is from. And I ended up working for a teacher in space participant who was supposed to go up in the space shuttle. And we know how that tragedy turned out, that they scrapped the teacher in space program. But I learned all about hands-on methodology and project-based learning. And I literally was so inspired by what I was learning at this nonprofit that really set the destination for my career in hands-on education.
Wonderful. And so how did you get to where you are today at kidSTREAM?
Yeah. So after starting at this nonprofit, I decided, well, I got a degree when I went for my undergrad, but I didn't get an education. And so I decided to go for a master's program in history. And that's when I really, my head was in the game. I was thrilled. I ended up being the honor graduate somehow,
Nice.
and so I did an internship at an Air and Space Museum, doing research on World War II aviation. And after my internship, the the museum offered me a job, and so I nabbed it. My very first job was in the museum world was as an assistant registrar, which is wonderful because there was no registrar to report to, so I was the assistant to no one, and it was really freeing. But I my very first duty functions in the job were to catalog a collection of Santa Clauses that was about 5,000 in numbers.
Oh, wow.
And so after like Santa 74, I was like, do we really need 5,000 Santa Clauses? Um, and apparently, yes, we did. So anyway, I started there, became the curator, the chief curator of the museum, and
Okay.
was really focusing on aerospace as my history. Thought about getting a PhD in aerospace history, but
Hmm.
my Russian was pretty rusty, so I chose not to, and eventually made my way into the children's museum world, where I've been for the last 24 years, and
Okay.
I can't envision myself being in any other job. So all that led me to kidSTREAM Children's Museum today, where we are working hard to get this museum open to increase impact on the children of our community.
Lovely, lovely. Well, I definitely understand the welding part as you walked away from that. I had a fun experience with my son. He's now a second year student in Mill Park College studying hospitality management. But during high school, um, we learned about the ROP program through the Ventura County Office of Education, and he was really thinking about body shop work, like looking at that industry. And so there was a class there in Camarillo, which you got to do all kinds of welding and cutting sheet metal and all kinds of fun stuff. So we burned our hands numerous times and we screwed up, but it was a lot of fun. So I definitely understand how that definitely is a talent, is something in the trades that, you know, for people who definitely who are good at using their hands and aren't interested in maybe pursuing a 4-year degree, it's a great way to have a wonderful career and lots of recurring revenue or income if
Absolutely,
you want to have a business for yourself or go work for a good firm because those jobs, man, they pay pretty well. So,
they do. They do. Yeah.
so
I still
go ahead.
I was just going to say, I still, I still enjoy welding from time to time.
Mm-hmm.
When I've been with a big museum team, I've thrown on my hood and my gloves and gone out there and
Sure.
welded some stuff up, and the team's very impressed. So, it's good. It's good to stay connected to those kinds of things.
That's great. So tell us about the kids that you're serving in the community, and I've had a chance to kind of view the website and kind of understand, but if you could share with the audience kind of what a child might experience having going to visit your facility there.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, we're working hard to. I was employee number one at kidSTREAM Children's Museum, and of
Mm-hmm.
course, STREAM stands for science, technology, reading, engineering, the arts, and math. And so this is a phenomenal organization that was founded in June 16th of 2016 by a very close friend of mine, Christy Ackle. Christy was a biology teacher, and she saw young ladies going through her classroom who just didn't have confidence in STEM. And
Mm-hmm.
so they would say, "Oh, I'm just not good at that," or "That's not my thing." And and she has and at the time had 3 young girls, and she said, I want to do better for my girls,
Mm-hmm.
my daughters. And so she founded kidSTREAM after this really exhaustive effort of trying to find local resources for kids that would be a place of inspirational learning to allow kids to explore, play, and discover. And she didn't find it. So she said, well, I guess I've got to do it myself.
I'll make it.
Uh, yeah,
That's great.
I used to be the CEO of a children's museum in Southern California, and I heard about the
Okay.
project. We met, became very close friends, and I became an advisor to the project, even though at the time, I knew I was actually helping develop my competition, just because I
Sure.
care so much about kids. I put kids ahead of, of the local landscape. So, fast forward about 4 years, I I was wrapping up a project in Washington D.C. and learned about Christy. And I learned through some friends that she was looking for their inaugural executive director. We connected. She
Mhm.
reached out. I said, absolutely, I'd love to join the team. So I joined the museum February 20th of 2020, right before
Okay.
shutdown, and that was a fascinating time. So
Yeah.
what does kidSTREAM do? Well, we educate and inspire kids through hands-on learning, and in our final form, we will have 30,000 square feet of exhibit space where kids can come in and literally learn
Mhm.
by different content, learn by different learning modalities, and really discover what they're great at. And the reason I'm so passionate about this project is because as a child, I wish I had had something like that early on
Sure.
to help me identify what I love to do and what I was really good at. And I think that if we the community comes together and really supports this project to get us open, then we can go all throughout Ventura County to families that never envisioned that that their child could go to university or go to the trades.
Sure.
And we want to be part of that by helping kids figure out what they love to do and what they're good at.
That's fantastic. I really like that you mentioned about that confidence level. Um, whether it's my kids or kids I meet, through my kids or even adults, when I hear that sentence, well, I can't do that, or I'm not good at that. It's just like to me, it's more of a mindset where it's like, yeah, maybe you're not good at it right now. Maybe you can't draw very well or weld or whatever it is, but with a little bit of practice, a little bit of information, you can become good at pretty much anything. I shared a story. I've been swimming for the last about a year and 3 months now, and I went from just going once or twice a week to 4 or 5 days a week now. And I remember how terrible I was getting started. When I would use the fins and the gloves and all kinds of contraptions to kind of, but it really just came down to just learning how to breathe, how to coordinate your body. And I remember, I was going to Cal Lutheran, the public pool there, in the mornings, and it's only 25 yards on one side. And you get yourself across and you're breathing terribly and you feel embarrassed, and you see all these other swimmers in the other lanes who are much better than you are. And I remember there was this one gentleman who was pretty heavy set, like he looks like he enjoys his beers during the weekend. And that man jumped into to his lane and it was just like just back and forth, just flawless swimming, and he did probably, I don't know, 20, 30 laps, jumped out and, went out with it. I was like, just looked at it like, wow.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
definitely that mindset, of being able to kind of push aside, like, okay, maybe I'm not confident right now, but
yeah.
I really enjoy swimming and I'm still going. And, I can do 30, 40 laps pretty quickly without stopping, which is pretty fun, to kind of get in, get out, So that's, 1,500 to 2,000 meters,
Love
at
that.
the end of it.
Yeah.
It's a pretty fun accomplishment, and even my wife says that she can see the difference in my body and just kind of my own disposition and that I'm in a much better mood because she says I'm often grumpy because I'm always working. So,
Yeah, and what I love about that is that I think my approach to life has really been to approach things with humility. We
mm,
there is always going to be someone who's better than we are at a particular task,
sure.
and there's always going to be someone that we are better than them. And so I think my hope is that for those who are better than me, hey, I learn from them, take what I like, leave the rest. And from those who maybe aren't where I am, well, I feel like I got a responsibility to help them to achieve who they are and their best self. So I love that, man.
That's great. Can you maybe share a story with us about maybe an insurmountable obstacle that you faced in your life, but because of your perseverance and your willingness to be uncomfortable and do what was required, that maybe you can help tell the audience, we're not the only person in the boat.
Yeah, gosh, there's so many examples of great cases where I've lived through that. I would say, we'll take the most recent experience, and
Mm-hmm.
I started a brand new job with kidSTREAM February 20th of 20, 20. and just a month before the world shut down. And
Sure.
so I remember that we in 2020 we had a leap year, and so there was actually February 29th, which
Okay.
is leap day. And so we held a leap day event at the museum to let me meet the new donors and and talk about the
Nice.
project, really kind of cast this vision. And little did I know that we'd be leaping into this Grand Canyon of challenges. But you know we um, we decided, well, we we can only control our response to the world. I can't control who comes down with COVID and how long it takes them, but I can control
Mhm.
what my response is to the world. So, having been on the team for a matter of maybe a week and a half, we started talking to our supporters, casting this vision for the future. When things actually did shut down, Christy and I really stopped and said, "Look, we have a social responsibility to help families, because there's so many kids
Mhm.
now that are getting stuck behind a screen." And I'm not screen phobic, but there is a point at which it's too much, and I think we really
Sure.
saw the result of that through the years of COVID, that we all spent time around screens. And I will admit, it provided, that screen time did provide some really good benefits. But the point is, we looked around and we started coming up with a whole series of experiments that were STEM based, that some arts, so I should say stream based, some arts, some
Okay.
engineering, some science, chemistry. But we looked at, what materials would a family have in their kitchen, and then we started
Mhm.
there because most did. So my point in all that is just that, we, instead of kind of looking at our shoes and saying, "Oh, woe is us," we shouldn't ask for money because there's all these needs out in the community, and some people, and all those things still remained important. But we kept our head up, we kept our eye on the prize of trying to open up this museum. And
Mhm.
when it was pretty clear that we weren't going to be able to do it because of COVID, we shifted our focus to say, well, we're not giving up on that dream, but maybe the universe is telling us that right now we need to take the path of just increasing access for kids. And so not only did we
Sure.
start a whole digital library of activities that kids could do with their parents around STEM, but we also started developing what we refer to as stream kits. And these are kits that every kid is anchored by a book in that child's
Okay.
native language. Um, we had 5 or 6 hands-on activities that a child could do. That some were art, and some were science, and some technology. And so we started making these kits out of faith, not having them underwritten by any financial source. And then I was part of a project in Santa Paula, California, called the Isabella
Okay.
Project, where we're trying to increase access for farm working families to high quality early childhood education, in
Oh, wow.
particular preschool. And so we were doing this event, kind of a seminar for parents. And I said, I've got to get these STEM kits in the hands of these parents. I don't have the money to do it, but
Mhm.
I've got faith that everything's going to come together. And if we do the right thing, then good things will fall in place. And lo and behold, a check for $1,000 showed up to
That's
to
great.
cover the cost of these kits, so we could give all of these families not only the time to come together as a family and learn together, but also invest in those young children. So I guess my to put a bow on this, you know,
Mhm.
life is full of curveballs, and I believe it was the prophet Mike Tyson who said that everybody's got a plan until you get punched
To
in the
get punched in
face.
the face.
And so, when you see that swing coming, duck if you
Sure.
can, and if
If
you
you can.
can't,
Yeah.
then you pull the Muhammad Ali and you rope a dope until you got it together. But you keep trying and you don't give up. And I think most importantly, Marcelo, is that you got to lean on your network. I mean, I was very blessed
Mhm.
and was able to go through Ventura County Leadership Academy with you. And I
Yeah.
count you and so many of our other classmates in the cohort as advisors, as friends, as mentees, mentors. And so look at your network and figure out who's there to cheer you on and who's there to kind of pick up the pieces when you fall apart, because it is a leadership fallacy that any one of us has all it takes to be
Sure.
100%.
Yeah.
And so you look at your network, and so I've really appreciated you and taken inspiration from you and the others in our VCLA class, and even beyond that. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'd say that's it's kind of an example of you just got to keep on keeping on.
Absolutely. I'm always telling people it's not the commas and zeros in your bank account, it's your network. That's your true net worth, the people that you can lean on, beyond your closest friends, but the people you can call when you need, just like you mentioned, you want to get these packages out to these kids, and lo and behold, somebody wrote a check for $1,000 to make it happen. That's a great story. That's
Yeah.
fantastic. And for our listeners who don't know, VCLA, the Ventura County Leadership Academy, is an incredible 10-month journey of educating yourself on regional issues that affect every city, every street corner, every neighborhood, just in terms of how things run, from agriculture to water infrastructure to how the government agencies in our region, run these cities and run the county. It's just so much to learn, and you realize how difficult it can be. So if you are interested, in pursuing something like that to see how you can be a better resource to your community, I definitely recommend looking at the Ventura County Leadership Academy and applying and being part of their cohort. You definitely would build incredible relationships like the one I have with Michael, and lots of other people who are in the alumni network that you can lean on. And I just sent out an email blast to my cohort about a project I'm working on, an event that we're going to be doing in hopefully spring of 2024. And so many people just came back with support and ideas. I posted another thing about who are the caterers in the region, and I got several recommendations of who could handle what I need in terms of hopefully holds between 350 to 500 attendees for this event. So, well, Michael, thank you so much. One thing that I always like to ask people about is, there's always this talk about balancing, your personal life and your business life or your work life. And I'm curious to learn, you know, what how you do that, and whether if you believe that or not. It's like, well, it's not a balance, or are you able to figure out ways to ensure that you're paying attention to yourself personally and your family? Or is it just, you just get so involved with work that just brings you a level of satisfaction where that's okay?
Yeah, that's I mean, I think first of all, I think it's a great question. It's a great topic to explore. And so for me, I'd say I've done just about everything on the spectrum. I've been way overloaded with work where I had no boundaries and pouring, 16 hours a day into something that I was very
Sure.
passionate about. But it's still, that's still hard when you're investing that kind of time. I've been on kind of the other side. Fortunately, when I was younger in my career, where I was completely unengaged. One of the
Mm.
silent slackers, or I'm not sure what that's what I feel like I was. I was slacking, but I think for me, I think the key is, you know, um, and this sounds cliche, but I really believe it, is that
Mhm.
if you love what you do, your work does become your play. Now that doesn't
Sure.
mean that 10 hours a day that you get to do whatever you want, but I think what I've noticed is that as I've progressed in the 26 plus years of my career around STEM education and around hands-on learning, um, I've discovered what I'm really really good at, and so when I look at my day, I try to first of all, I do try to have a good work life balance, and what that means for me is that I have to set up boundaries. And again, boundaries is kind of one of those buzzwords, but to me, a boundary is just keeping the good things in and the bad things out. So you imagine your
Mm.
house. You are a house, and your boundary is your fence. Well, I don't want the rabid dog to come jumping in to my yard,
Sure.
and and but I also need to keep in the good stuff. So I've had to. In fact, this just happened recently. I had I had some folks, work-related folks that were texting me, early mornings, late hours, weekends, and I
Mhm.
had to say, "Look, what you are texting about is important to me, but if I don't respond, it's not because I don't care. It's because I have to set up boundaries so I don't burn out."
Sure.
The irony is that the individual who responded back said, "You're right. I actually don't need to establish some boundaries myself." And so by trying to do what was right for myself and my family, I feel like tangentially I was actually able to help this other individual as well, just by trying to set some healthy boundaries. So, in
Sure.
terms of my work day, I try to get the hard stuff out of the way first. The stuff I don't like to
Mm.
do. Because I don't care what your job is, unless you're independently wealthy and don't, and even those folks probably do too. But you got to do some things you don't like to do as part of your job. So I try
Mhm.
to get the hard stuff done out of the way and then save some of the afternoon time for when I'm maybe lagging a little bit for some of the things that I absolutely
Mm.
love to do that in my case involve more creativity, more design work around exhibits. Because I get into that state of flow and I could literally work for hours doing that.
Sure.
Kind of, they say if you didn't have to work, what would you still do? Well, uh, much of my work I would still do because I love it so much. So, in terms
Mhm.
of just family, um, you know, I try to listen to my loved ones, and when they say I'm not present, and put my device down and focus. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think, as you said, I don't think there's a magic bullet, but it takes hard work, it takes focus, and it
Sure.
takes understanding that you're gonna nail it sometimes, and understanding that you're gonna fall flat on your face sometimes. But you just got to keep getting up
Yeah.
and trying to be there for your family, because at the end of the day, the old saying that nobody gets to the end of their life and says, "Gosh, I wish I'd have spent more time at the office." So you
In a
try to
million,
be there.
yeah.
Yeah, try to be there for your family.
Absolutely. I'm lucky to have a very supportive wife, being self-employed, and she will check me by going like this, which means like it looks like you have poop under your nose, and the way your face looks, like you need to change your face.
That's
But
funny.
I get to work from home, and I have my own office here in the guest house, so I have to make it a point, to go into the house and just go check in on my wife. Give her a hug, give her a kiss. That's part of the rules here in our house on a daily basis. I can't just stay in here.
Yeah,
I will be in here for 12, 16 hours getting stuff
yeah,
done. So I got
I
to
get
come
it
out of the cave and go visit, go give a hug, and just check in. Try to
for
have
sure.
lunch together during the daytime, that kind of thing. So.
That's awesome.
Well, Michael, thank you so much. Really appreciate you taking the time to share with us. And if you, listener, would like to be on this show, if you would like to share your story about some type of insurmountable obstacle that you've gone through to help motivate our audience, please click on the link below, and we'd be glad to have you. And thank you so much for joining No Silver Bullet.
All right. Thank you. Take care.